This video is brought to you by catbeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
What up guys, your boy Quake, and thanks to Catbeast for sponsoring this video. This is a website that I use to order my customized hats that I wear always in my pictures and videos on Instagram. It's a great website to get quality hats and the way you want them. Check them out in the description below. What up guys, your boy Quake, and the first day of 6ix9ine testifying in court happened today. But before we get into that, be sure to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at QuakeGW. A link is in the description below for both. Yesterday, the trial between 6ix9ine and two people that weren't pleading guilty officially started, but it was just a breakdown by the government of exactly what's going to happen. Today, though, 6ix9ine finally showed up in court for the first time to testify against his one-time gang associates, Anthony Harv Ellison and Elijah Nuke Mack. A lot of the information that was talked about today with 6ix9ine in court, I mentioned in previous videos, so I'm not going to go over every single thing. It would just be way too repetitive and quite frankly boring as hell because it's a bunch of lawyer talk back and forth, defendants, witnesses, stuff like that, and it's really not worth it. However, I will leave a Twitter link in the description below from a guy called Matthew Russell from Inner City Press. He made a whole thread live tweeting while he was in court about everything that went down. So let's go over the major points of what happened today. I'm going to start from the beginning because off the bat, 6ix9ine says something that we had no idea about. If you guys don't know, Daniel Hernandez is 6ix9ine's real name. So when you see Daniel Hernandez in these tweets, that's 6ix9ine. So this is how it starts out. Your Honor, the government calls Daniel Hernandez. This is how he's described. He's in prison blues. Deputy Smallman just swore him in. It's on. They ask him a question. Mr. Hernandez, where were you born? He says, Bushwick, Brooklyn. How far did you go in school? Like the 10th grade. Now, this is the part that was interesting that we had no idea about. They ask him, when did you start living in federal custody? When did you start cooperating? The next day, he says, the day after we were taken down. So literally, the second he got locked up, after 24 hours, he told the government he's going to cooperate. He didn't even give it a chance to see if he had a chance to fight it. He immediately broke down and decided to cooperate. This is something that we had no idea about because it took the media a while to present this to the world and to reveal that he's cooperating. Continuing on, they ask him, were you a member of a gang? He says, yes, the 9 Train Bloods. What sort of things did 9 Train do? Robberies, assaults, drugs. Do you recognize anyone in court? Now, this is where he's identifying people and pointing at people. He says, Anthony Ellison has a great suit on. Mac has a brown suit on. They ask him, where'd you go to school? He says, PS 59, Campbell's Middle School, Legacy High School. Did you work? He says, I started working at 13. My first job was at Youth Corps for about 2 months. Didn't make a lot, so bust tables with my brother, then grocery store delivery for about 2 years. He says, I landed another busboy job, then I became a rapper. Peter Rogers came into the store I worked in September 2014 to buy tea and peanuts. Asked me if I rapped. He said, you look cool, and that he makes more of rock and roll rap. He then ended up touring in Slovakia, Moscow, did a couple shows, made about $2,000 profit. He said he did it for experience, and then everything changed in September of 2017. He says he filmed a music video in Bed-Stuy 370 Madison. He then reveals that music video was for the track called Gummo. He explains GUMMO. He says that he signed a 20% management deal to Psycho Billy. Billy is 9 Train, so 6ix9ine ended up asking Billy to provide gang members for his music video. And as you guys know, if you watch the Gummo music video, there's a bunch of people in that video. So 6ix9ine ended up asking Billy to get those people in the video. He says, I met him at the studio in Williamsburg. Following this, 6ix9ine explains how he met Shotty. He says, I brought Hennessy and at 370 Madison, I met Shotty. He said, we with you, little homie. Also brought a bunch of red bandanas. He met Pablo, and then he goes to show in photos who's Shotty, who's Pablo, so on and so forth. Now, this is another interesting part that happens in court. The government decides to play the Gummo song loud. So now they're listening to lyrics, they're watching the actual video, and 6ix9ine is pointing out all the guns in the music video, and he even links one to Shotty himself. The government asks, is that a real gun? He says yes. Then they ask, what is a drum? 6ix9ine explains, you add it to a gun, it carries an extra clip. Then the AUSA decides to quote lyrics using the N-word via the song. 6ix9ine then says the N-word as well, quotes lyrics, so on and so forth. They ask him, Mr. Hernandez, what is Gummo about? He reveals it's a diss song towards somebody I don't get along with. Then this is where we get into Trippie Redd, and Trippie Redd gets involved in this whole thing, and it really sucks for him because now he's getting involved in an FBI government raid thing and the whole racketeering charges. I know it's probably going to go back to him now that he's mentioned in these court cases. Definitely the FBI is going to show up to his place and question him in the future. So the court asked about the history of Gummo. He said the track was aimed at Trippie Redd, who Hernandez identified as a member of the 6IX9INE Brims set of Bloods. This is the first time he's actually going to testify, but he's actually going to reveal information about Trippie Redd and that he was a former gang member. So this is where the problems for Trippie Redd is potentially going to happen. Now, this is all allegedly. I'm not saying he is involved with them or not involved with them. I don't know. This is what 6ix9ine himself is saying. 6ix9ine then explains why they had a beef. He said, me and Trippie Redd were signed to the same label. There was a lot of jealousy involved. And if you guys don't know the history behind Gummo, basically it was a beat that was sent to Trippie Redd. Somehow 6ix9ine got it, rapped on it, released it. Trippie Redd got upset. And basically, that's how the whole battle started. And of course, jealousy with labels, so on and so forth. So 6ix9ine explains the lyrics and why he's essentially dissing Trippie Redd, and then says that he's part of a gang. Then they ask, did there come a time that Gummo was released on the internet? He says, yes, it went viral, meaning people shared it. I just put it up on YouTube and said, whatever happens, happens. Then he says some people said Shotty said that the little rainbow head knows what he's doing, and then they ask him about the song KOODA. How did that song come about? 6ix9ine says, I knew I had a formula to repeat it. The gang, what is the word for it? Image, I would say promote it. You know what I'm trying to say? That's what people like. He continues and says, before I changed my style of rap, I liked this kid called KOODA. I thought he was talented, so I named the song after him. KOODA was filmed in Brooklyn, intersection of Fulton Avenue and Utica near Smurf Village. It is 9 Trey members who live there. Then the government plays parts of KOODA, again very loud. 6ix9ine is testifying about the big homie in Smurf Village. Government pulls up transcripts of KOODA's lyrics. Now, if you replace the N-word with people, that's what I meant. No one understood how rainbow hair could be with Bloods. 50 means to be on point, to be aware. And now he's basically just explaining each lyric. Now the AUSA asks, when did you become a member of 9 Trey? 6ix9ine says November 17th. Were you initiated? He says, no, you had to shoot your 31. 6ix9ine then goes on to say, to be initiated, you had to do work like cutting someone's face. Then they ask Mr. Hernandez, but you were not initiated, right? He says, right, I just had to keep making hits and giving financial support to the gang, equipping them with guns like so they could buy guns. Then they ask, so what did you get from 9 Trey? He says, I would say my career, credibility, protection, all the above. Trey was something that we could market. Could you demonstrate the handshake? This is the funny part. So they ask him to demonstrate the 9 Trey handshake. He says, I need 2 people, but he ends up getting up on the stand and with his own 2 hands demonstrates the handshake. He says now 6ix9ine is shaking hands with himself, standing up so the jury can see. The AUSA asks, who taught you that? He says, I'm doing it with Shotty a lot. The 9 with your index finger and your thumb. Nuke taught me. He shows a photo. Then he says, I think I was just getting the hang of it. Then they ask 6ix9ine to point out in photos and videos where the gang signs were used. They ask Mr. Hernandez if he could identify the people in the photograph. He says, I don't know the guy in the LA hat. And what is Mel Murder wearing? Cincinnati Reds. He's the godfather of 9 Trey Bloods. They ask, does 9 Trey have a leadership structure? He says, yes, there was a street lineup and a prison lineup. They ask, how did the prison lineup work? He says, my understanding is that with the prison lineup, there was a higher up to get anything sanctioned on the street. Now 6ix9ine says he spoke to Frank White and Magoo. They could say who had ranking and who didn't. Now they ask about the rankings in the gang. Turning to the street lineup, were there ranks? He says, yes, there was a Godfather, Twins, and 5-star generals. They ask who occupied the positions. Mel Murda was the Godfather, right under was Shotty, and Psycho Billy was the 5-star. He says, Shotty told me if you take care of the people behind the wall, they'll take care of you. And this is when the trial ended for the day. Tomorrow, Hernandez is going to testify and break down more details about the gang, and he's going to testify that he was going to get into the alleged robbery and kidnapping in July of 2018. So if he testifies something that we had no idea about, I'll be definitely making a follow-up video to what he says tomorrow. But if it's nothing new and if it's something that we already knew about, you know, because a lot of this information has been repetitive. It's been the same thing over and over. And I don't want to make 90 million videos explaining the same thing just verbatim for what he says in court. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about the Trippie Redd situation? 6ix9ine just threw him basically under the bus, and now he's going to have the FBI at his doorstep, which I'm sure he doesn't want at all. And as you guys can see in this court case, a lot of the music and the music videos and all the stuff he did on social media is being used against 6ix9ine and against the people that got locked up. This is why a lot of rappers that are smart about the stuff that they do, they don't post it on social media. I'm surprised that nobody learns from this. Bobby Shmurda got locked up because of all the stuff he did. He kept it low key, but in the lyrics, he revealed what he was doing, and it ended up biting him in the ass. So I don't know why these rappers never learn from previous mistakes of other rappers. You would think 6ix9ine would learn from Bobby Shmurda, but he didn't. He didn't care. He thought he was untouchable because of the gang, because of the money. But the government is the most powerful thing we have in America, so there's no way you're going to beat that. I don't care how rich you are or what gang you have. So with that being said, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of 6ix9ine's testimony. If you guys want to support this channel further, you can do so at patreon.com/diverse mentality. For just $1 a month or more, you can help support this channel further. Like, comment, share, and definitely subscribe. I do videos like this daily on hip-hop news and much more, so definitely subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at QuakeGW. Like us on Facebook, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.